Hello and welcome to another edition of Sports World. Sportsworld4@gmail.com is the all-important email address, and we are going to cover a hell of a lot of different sporting issues here today. Euro 2012, of course, been the main talking point. We'll also be touching on dramatic news in relation to a shocking new deal signed for Premier League TV coverage that has left people in shock over who has entered that arena with Sky B. And we'll be touching on the UK Open in darts that rocked Bolton last weekend and looking back on that particular tournament. I'm David Long, and my co-host, as always, Gerald Murphy.
Hello, Dave. It's great to be back, and what a week it has been in the sporting world.
Certainly has been, and I think we need to start with a subject close to our hearts, the Republic of Ireland's group in Euro 2012, Group C. And the Republic of Ireland have really let this nation down, in my opinion. There was so much optimism going into it, probably misfounded, but at the same time, the facts of the matter are that the right teams have not been picked by Giovanni Trapattoni, and there's no excuse for conceding 7 goals in 2 games.
Yeah, everyone keeps harping on about Damien Duff and Aidan McGeady and Robbie Keane and Richard Dunn and Shane Given, but my biggest problem, and they have to be found out this in the first 2 matches, and against Italy they have to be found out as well. The middle pair of the Irish team, Glenn Whelan, Keith Andrews, just doesn't get it done for me, and they were really showing up in these 2 games because a lot of the goals that came from the middle of the midfield, and it was mistakes by them too.
Well, I've long since said, and I've said it on previous Sports World, the right people were not put on the plane to Poznan, and, you know, you had good players, and I would have definitely given Darren Gibson a go against Spain. You know, there was nothing to lose after what happened at Croatia. You know, he had to shake things up, but what does he do? He shakes things up. I wouldn't even call it shaking things up. Brings on fucking Simon Cox. Now, this really pisses me off, Jer, because this guy isn't good enough to fucking lace Shane Long's boots at West Bromwich Albion. Can't get on ahead of him. And yet he gets on ahead of him for the fucking international team.
Yeah, I felt sorry for Cox. I really did, because here was his chance to perform the major tournament, and he's been played out of position. That's not fair to any player to be asked.
No one called for Cox to be declaring himself for Ireland. There was no momentum. No one even knew who the fucker was. I mean, I'm pissed off with it, Jer. If you're getting your game in the Premier League, you should be starting in that Ireland team. It's absolute horseshit. Trapattoni, his criteria for who starts in that team is totally fucking arseways. You'd have to have the likes of Coleman there. You'd have to have Houlihan there. McLean would be starting. Gibson would be starting. And, you know, you'd definitely have Shane Long up front. And I don't give a fuck if Robbie Keane's the captain or does the press conferences. He's not up to it anymore. And I'm not buying into this bullshit that he's our greatest scorer of all time. Because if you look back on it, a lot of those goals came in poxy friendlies.
Yeah, so he's out against something like 10 goals just alone against the Faroe Islands and Malta. Like, Jesus Christ, Dave, me and you would score against them.
You know, I'm not happy with the way this whole tournament has progressed. I'm not happy with the mentality that Trapattoni has had, that he wants to reward the players that got him there. That's a bullshit mentality. It's a young man's game. You thank the players that got you there. You bring them on the plane, but that doesn't mean you have to play them.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't keep Robbie Keane on the bench, because I think Robbie Keane would have had so much more impact in this tournament as an impact substitution. Like, you look at the Croatia game, when we went 3-1 down, someone like Robbie Keane would have been brilliant to bring off the bench, rather than bringing on people like Shane Long, Walters and Cox, because they don't have the experience to turn a game like that around, where someone like Robbie Keane would. So I think he played the wrong game completely, where Long, Waters and Cox from the off against Croatia would have been able to run at him and goal up. I don't think they would have been able to turn the game around, and they weren't.
Yeah, as much as people are criticising the players, I've got to lay most of the blame at Trapattoni's feet, because at the end of the day, he's the one that's making the team selections, and they've been totally fucked up and totally proven to be wrong. You know, he hasn't, in my opinion, given the Irish team a fighting chance in these games with the team selections that he's chosen. I mean, Stephen Kelly is another example, whether people like him or not. He is playing in the Premier League for Fulham. surely he should be in there in the left back position, have John O'Shea out of there because
John O'Shea has been a nightmare this tournament. He has been an absolutely fucking nightmare. It was mistake after mistake after mistake, and usually they were punished for it.
You know, and I've heard people saying, the bar's been set too high over the years with how well Ireland have done on big tournament stages, that we were always going to have a bad tournament eventually. But I'm still not buying into that, because at the end of the day, they just didn't show enough passion for the cause, Jared. They just, psychologically, they looked beaten before they got out there on Thursday night.
Yeah, they were afraid of Spain. Let's call it a spade. They really were. Like, they got one good shot in the first 2 minutes, and it could have been a completely different game if Simon Cox buried that chance, because it would have taken away a lot of the fear factor. But when that was said, I remember turning around to my father, I was watching him with him, and I said it's going to be a long night, because that was not, as much as you want to criticise Simon Cox, I think we could both agree he is a great finisher, and that shot, he just showed that he was nervous as hell.
And the other thing I want to address as well, Jerry, is the fact that there seems to be this kind of 3-minute warning thing with Ireland that, what is up with them conceding goals 3 minutes into the first half and 3 minutes into the second half? It's happened in both games, and it really just hasn't given anybody a chance to get into the game. I thought when we got to 1-0 at half-time for Spain, that was a good achievement, considering how all over Spain were, and given had to pull out some great saves. You'd never give yourself a chance if you're going to concede again 3 minutes into the second half. It was game over at that stage.
Yeah, because the whole half-time talk is on over your head, like, because when you concede that second one, you know you're up shit creek and you have to put it back. And the Irish, like, let's face it, they could have snuck one goal back, Dave, but there was no way they were going to sneak 2 goals off the Spanish team. And what really pissed me off is, as much as I watch the Irish teams for my whole life, I used to go to the Old Leinster Road, I go to the Afiva now, is I never saw the Irish team give up, and that's what they did Thursday night.
Yeah, it was absolutely sickening. And I don't really agree with Liam Brady trying to defend Trapattoni. I don't think he can be defended at this point. The press conference I witnessed yesterday was an absolute shambles. He wasn't answering the questions he was being asked by the Irish media. And to me, they were asking some pretty relevant questions. Is he going to give the youngsters the chance in the final game against Italy? There's nothing to lose now, Jerry. He needs to give them a chance on the big stage, in my opinion. And also a question was asked about the retirements. Is he going to force retirement on people, or is he going to let these people hang on? I personally think these guys should have the cop on to know now the nation hasn't got much time for them, and they really need to bow out after this.
Yeah, before they kill their own legacy, like, Robbie Keane is our top-time goal scorer of all time, but if he hangs on any longer, Dave, he will turn into a villain. And he will be hated, and I don't think Robbie Keane is the first I think has to go, because his attitude there last year, remember when he got dropped to the bench for some game, that if I'm going to be on the bench, I'm going to leave. That's not the mentality we need.
No, and we need him, as you say, to be a sub. He could actually prolong his career if he was happy to be a sub that would come on around the 70-minute mark, but you've got to be starting these games with Long. He's got the pace to get in behind defences, cause some trouble. McLean on the flanks as well.
But I don't think Keane will do that. That's the problem.
Up as well. Duff's team is definitely up, and I agree with you. I don't think we've seen the last of Robbie Keane by a long shot. I think he's going to hang around for the 2014 qualification process.
Yeah, about Duff is that I wouldn't let Duff go completely, because I think he played well against Croatia. I think the thing that killed him against Spain was the same thing that killed Richard Dunn. These guys were not able to play 4 days later, and Trapattoni should have fucking known that.
He really had the opportunity on Thursday to freshen things up, and we all pretty much knew in the country that the deck was stacked against us, so there wouldn't have been any shame in losing. But the fact that we lost in the manner in which we lost, the team giving up, and the same lads fucking up again, just didn't leave a good taste in the mouth for people on Thursday night.
Yeah, but see, the thing about Thursday night, is he announced the team an hour and a half before kick-off. No. Everyone was expecting Ireland to play the same team, this and the other. What he should have done, Dave, was absolutely throwing the form book out and pulling in the young, fit players, and Spain would have been bamboozled, because they would have been looking at Damien Duff, Aidan McGeady, Robbie Keane, Richard Dunn, John O'Shea the whole week and scouting them. And then he turns around and switches the whole team. They wouldn't have known what the fuck was up.
Yeah, but you see, this is the problem with the man, and,
He's too old school.
It's too old school, and there's no place for that in the game now. The game has passed him by, in my opinion. It's a young man's game, and you need to shake things up, and he's just uber conservative. He's not prepared to do it. So very disappointing there, I have to say, because as much as people want to piss on us, I just don't think we gave ourselves a chance in the games with the selections.
Yeah, I just hope we don't end up being like it's like the Sweden team or the Switzerland team for a couple of years. I just hope we're not going to be qualifying for major tournaments just to get hammered over there.
Well, there's no point if that's the case, you know what I mean? I'd rather not qualify than be hammered on the big stage. And if you are going to qualify and you realise that certain tactics got you there, that doesn't mean they're going to work in the actual tournament. You need to shake things up.
Yeah.
Now, I just want a prime example of what Trapattoni should be doing is what has been done in Group D by Roy Hodgson. He has given the youngsters the chance. He has given Welbeck the chance. He has given Oxlade-Chamber the chance.
Even though he dropped him for the second game, which made no sense.
Come on, man. At the end of the day, he gave him the start in the first game. It's more than fucking Trapp's been doing with the youngsters on the Irish team. So I don't buy into that bollocks. He made the right selection.
But come on,
he made a tremendous substitution with Theo Walcott that turned out to be the turning point in the game against Sweden. So yeah, he didn't start him there, but he gave him the go in the first game.
Yeah, but I don't think
he is doing a damn good job considering he's only in it a couple of weeks. And, you know, as much as people want to piss on England, and I'm not happy that it's always the cool thing to do in this country, I'd like to see them do well, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to fucking hide behind the fact that I support the Premier League, and I'm a big fan of English football, so I'm not going to be one of these hypocrites that's cheering for fucking Rooney 10 months of the year, and then when it comes to the summer, calling him a fucking arsehole. No, I'm not going to buy into that.
I'm the same as well. I always like to see England do well. The problem is that England are boring to watch.
What game were you watching last night, Joe? That is not boring.
I was watching a game with mistakes after mistakes.
Yes. Fucking dramatic football, Jerry. It's not all about fucking passing, shooting, technical brilliance.
But against the big teams, they will get hammered. They will get hammered against the big teams.
Jerry, let's get them there first. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous that you're coming out with this kind of crap now, to be quite honest with you. How can you not see the merit in that game last night? Yeah, it wasn't fucking technically brilliant, but it was fucking damn entertaining to watch. 5 goals? I mean, come on, what more do you want?
Dave, all I'm saying is that everyone is praising Ron Hodgson for what he's doing, but at the end of the day, if he plays like that against Spain, against Italy, if they get either one of them in the draw, in the latter stages against Germany, they will get fucking hammered.
We'll wait and see what happens, sir.
They will get hammered. It'll be the same as what happened in South Africa.
Did they be getting out of the fucking group?
They will get out of the group. But you know what? Everyone is thinking it's a formality. Don't forget that the Ukraine have home advantage. The crowd is going to be on the backs of the English players. That's going to be a very hostile atmosphere. And there we know the English with reputation in hostile atmospheres. They usually choke under them.
We'll wait and see what happens. But I tell you one thing, they've given themselves a hell of a chance, because unlike us, at least they got something on the board after the first game. That's what you need to do. You need to get at least a point out of the first game and then take it from there.
Yeah, but in fairness, though, even you have to say France were unlucky in that game. Joe Hart saved England's skin in that game.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they got the result, and that's all that matters there. I wouldn't give a shit what happened as long as you get the result.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm just saying that everyone is saying that Roy Hodgson is doing a brilliant job, but in my opinion, he better have a plan B, because if he goes out and plays like that against the big teams, England will get hammered. They will get hammered like they did 2 years ago.
I think unlike the Irish, they've shown tremendous team spirit. I mean, let's be honest, when they went 2-1 down there, it really looked dodgy for them, but to come back in the manner in which they did, I think that says a lot about the English team, you know, and it's something that we didn't see from the Irish, and that's what pissed me off the last 2 games. But definitely interesting groups there. And
I have to say one thing before we move on. That Sweden team, Jesus, they're after falling by the wayside.
But again, they're too old. Mellberg's 30-odd. Svensson used to play for Southampton about 10 years ago. That is an ageing team. And again, it shows you what I've said earlier on in this programme, that it's a young man's game. They're going to have to start blooding the youngsters in.
But here's a question now about England. Will Wayne Rooney coming back now the next game, does all this team spirit die? Because you know what it's like when the main man is out. Oh, we did in 2002 in the World Cup. We got to the last 16 with a group that had Germany that got to the final. And it only took Spain on penalties to knock us out. The players went out to prove a point that we didn't need Roy Keane. Do you think the English players are doing the same, trying to prove a point, listen, we don't need Wayne Rooney?
Yeah, well, you know what, I'd be interested to see who he starts with. I think there's a lot of talk that he's actually going to pair the United pair of Welbeck and Rooney up front, which I think is a good move from Hodgson. if you look at that English team, Hodgson's playing it well. He's kind of playing people together that are at the same club. He's linked up Gerrard and Carroll last night, which got the goal. He's also playing a lot of Manchester City players that would know each other well. So I think he's playing it very well. He's got pockets of people from the same clubs throughout the pitch. And that's the way I would have done it if I was Trapattoni. I would have played Shane Long and Kevin Doyle up front because they know each other from going back to their Reading days. And
the
their
Cork
days in
City
the
days.
Yeah. So I think an element of that has to come into play at international level.
Now, one thing that's not been brought up, and it's something I like to bring up here on Sports World, is how of a disgrace I think Gerrard was last night. There was 1 minute left on the clock, and the ball was coming in. Now, Gerrard doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. Oxlade-Chamberlain was right in behind him, and Gerrard whipped the fucking ball off him. I thought it was disgusting to see, Dave.
It was a bit shocking now, I have to say. I thought he would have left it for him, but at the end of the day, he's the captain and he's a hungry hooer for the glory.
Yeah, it was absolute bullshit.
But I didn't think he had a particularly good game apart from setting up the goal for Carroll. I thought otherwise he was pretty horrific.
Yeah,
I also want to say as well, Mark Lawrenson really would want to just give it up at this stage of the game because his commentary was absolutely dire. I was nearly going to go over to the fucking Chris Moyles alternative comedy with Comedy Dave.
Yeah, what was that about?
I don't know, but Mark Lawrenson, you really gotta fucking take some Valium because you're just far too depressing to listen to on a Friday night.
I gotta
but
say,
that hasn't been. I don't know whether you read the article, Joe. There's been articles out in the English media criticising the BBC coverage that it's too dour, that they're fucking depressed as fuck compared to the ITV coverage. But maybe that's like, why did they send Gabby Logan, Martin Keown, and David James over there? Why not fucking send Lineker?
Is David James over there now?
Yeah, you have Logan, James and Keown pitch side, and luckily for Keown this time he didn't get a fucking ball hit in the face.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have Premier League football after next year, like, so he's trying to expand his horizons.
Look forward to getting on to discussing that. But if we can go to the group with your favourite team, Denmark, a fascinating group this is turning out to be, and everything is still on the line going into the final game. Germany got the win against Holland, but I think we can all agree the match of that group was Denmark-Portugal, an absolute thriller.
Yeah, that was a thriller of a game. But yet again, like, I don't know, the story of this championship seems to be bad defending. Because them defences were horrible, and some of the goals were mediocre, but it was still entertaining to watch. And that's what I would say about the England game last night. It's like, don't say it was top quality, but it's enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, definitely. But see, I think it's been a good tournament, Jay, because a lot of the goals, I think all the goals have come from open play. The penalty was given in the opener that was missed by the Greece, but I've been happy with the tournament. I think, I know you're saying poor defences, but that's fucking great as far as I'm concerned. I'm watching at home. I'd rather be watching 3-2 thrillers than 0-0 draws. So I think the fans are really winning out in this Euro 2012. And I know people have said that this is possibly one of the best Euros of all time. We'll wait and see what happens, but certainly has been very interesting the way nearly all the groups are going down to the wire now going into the final games. I mean,
I think this is the first time. Maybe someone could correct us, leave a comment below, or send us an email, sportsworld4@gmail.com. I cannot remember a tournament, Euros or World Cup, or even Copa America, where the last round of games, no one is through yet.
Yeah.
Not one team is through to the quarterfinals yet.
Incredible, really, isn't it, when you think about it? And especially that group with Germany, considering they've got the 2 wins, but still not through.
Yeah, but that is going to be very interesting tomorrow night because you don't know how that's going to go. Could you see Germany probably doing a hobble? Because they would much rather see Denmark go through than Holland and Portugal, because Holland might get it together and Germany might live to regret beating Denmark.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but I just don't think the Germans can afford not to get the win, if you know what I mean. They need to go out with that winning mentality, and I think they will actually get the win over Denmark.
I think they get a draw. I think they'll be happy to take a draw against Denmark, and then that way, no matter what happens, Holland can't get through. And I think, even though they were very, very good against Holland, they still only beat them 2-1, and Holland have 1 or 2 chances to level that game up there.
Yeah, but don't forget, if Portugal beat Holland, Germany are in a bit spot of bother, so they need to get something out of it, as you said.
Yeah, a draw will do Germany to top the group, and I think that's what they're going to
get. The Danes
are
fighting hard, Jerry, The Danes need to fucking win.
Yeah. Denmark had a great start, and against Portugal, I say they're bullying that they didn't come out of there with a draw. They come back from 2-0 down to make it 2-2, and then to give away that very sloppy third goal there.
So, who do you think's going to get out of Group B?
I think it will be Germany and Denmark, because I see that being a draw, and I see Holland beating Portugal. I see Holland getting the job done, alright, but I'm not going to say they're going to throw the game, don't get me wrong there at all. I just think Germany will be happy with a draw. That way they don't have to worry about running back into Holland.
Yeah. It's very similar to, Euro 2004 when Portugal and Greece got out of that group and then they would later meet on in the final. I don't think the Germans would want that to happen with Holland.
No, they wouldn't, because as I said, as good as Germany played, they still only beat Holland 2-1, and that wasn't a world-class Dutch performance by anything.
No, it wasn't. Certainly wasn't.
So if Holland get their act together and they meet in the final, Germany could live to regret it. Because if they go in, they wallop Denmark, and then Holland pull out of that group, Holland might say, we're lucky to get out of that group, let's ride the luck. And there's one thing, if you get that small bit of luck, with the quality that Dutch team has, if they hit form.
Now, Group A, of course, was widely regarded as a group that wouldn't get people going, but I think you going, Ger, it's been quite an entertaining group, and again, one of the most fascinating groups going into the final round of matches.
Yeah, I think it's been the best group of the Euros. I really do, and I cannot wait to see how this resolves itself tonight.
Yeah, just to let people know, there's an option now to watch both games. One is on BBC One, the other one's on BBC Three, RTE. I don't know what way they're going to do it, Jared. Are they going to switch from match to match or just
No,
show
I
the
think
one?
they're showing the Poland game.
Yeah.
I think they're showing the Poland game.
Poland, Czech Republic.
Yeah, I think they're showing that game. I might be wrong, but I think that is the game they are showing.
Manish Benish will be doing the coverage on BBC Three. Mick McCarthy will be on colour commentary duties for the Greece-Russia game.
Oh, I'm watching that. Mick McCarthy is the funniest colour commentator ever. I don't care what anyone says. The guy is fucking hilarious.
He should have been the colour commentator on a lot of these matches so far, Joe. It's not good enough that McCarthy's not been involved.
And he's been over there. I think he's been doing it for that Radio 5 thing on BBC.
Yeah. A lot of the people they're using on BBC Radio 5 Live are better than the people they're using on the TV coverage. I mean, who wants to hear Mark Bright's bullshit?
Yeah. But there's one other point that no one seems to be bringing up, and I know people that listen in the UK might not know what we're going on about. Yesterday, when there was an hour delay in the Ukraine and France game, RTE stayed on and had a discussion about what was going on, and they were able to carry the hour, I think, very well. But the ITV lads were struggling, and they even cut to extended highlights of England and France. They really didn't know what to talk about. And that's why I think a lot of the British coverage, and I'm not trying to be biased towards the British, don't get me wrong, don't know how to carry shows and don't know how to have proper conversations.
It's very true. That's something we should be actually very grateful for over this side of the Irish Sea.
Yeah, as much
but
as
they did carry it well, and as you said, they were able to have a good discussion, and I think Richard Sadlier has come out of this tournament as a very credible pundit.
He has, him and Didi Hamann. Didi Hamann, I think, has been very good as well. And, we might go on about the Irish team needing a fresh up. I think that RT panel needs a fresh up because John Giles, Liam Brady, Eamon Dunphy, they're 2-0 now. It's like just putting a camera into an old folks. Keep going on, 10 years ago now, this wouldn't happen.
I said it to you on Sports World before. I'm not convinced these guys are watching football on a regular basis. I just don't feel they know what's going on.
That's why John Giles has to be brought onto the Premiership.
Last night, right? Dunphy was saying, right? He said on the RT, he said, turn the telly off and go to the pub because there's no more goals in this fucking game. What a fucking gobshite. Turns out there was a hell of a lot more goals in it. There was another fucking 4 goals, Dunphy, you bollocks.
Yeah, well, Dunphy...
Those kind of comments are just so annoying.
But Dunphy is the kind of guy that you got out about earlier that would like to see the English succeed at anything.
Yeah. Very anti-English sentiment on that RT panel, which is not really acceptable in my opinion.
I think Liam Brady is the only voice of reason in that about this.
Yeah, I think he is.
That's because he gets supplied by Arsenal.
Who do you think's going to get out of Group A, Joe?
Ooh, I think I'm going to stick with my original pick. I think Russia and Poland will get the job done. You know? And now the Group C. That's interesting. Yeah. I don't know. That's going to be very interesting. But if I had to pick, I would go Spain, Italy.
Yeah, I've been impressed with the Croatians. I think they played very well against Italy in that second half on Thursday. Should have probably won the game, in my opinion.
Yeah,
As
but
you
I do
say, it'll
not
be a
think.
fascinating game.
But they
Spain,
need to beat
Croatia.
Spain. They need to
Yeah.
beat Spain.
Well, look, Croatia, remember what they did in World Cup 98? Shocked the world. Should have probably got to the final against France.
Yeah.
Should have beaten France in that semi-final. Ended up third in the end. So, they're not afraid of the big teams, and they're not afraid to go at them and try and win the game. So that's what I respect about the Croatians.
I think Croatia's greatest achievement ever in football, I know this is a bold statement to make, is that when they had to go to Wembley and win to qualify for Euro 2008, and they did. It's a hell of an achievement to go to Wembley needed to win, because so little international teams get to win in Wembley.
Yeah. And of course that resulted in England not getting through.
Yeah. And
Didn't they get to Euro 2008?
And Steve McLaren standing there with the umbrella.
And Group D, you're sticking with your picks, are you?
I'm actually not.
Go on.
I think the two teams that will get through are France and the Ukraine. Now, let me explain. I don't think England can handle hostile atmospheres. Simple as that. When it's been put up to them before in hostile atmospheres, England usually buckle. Who can forget the night in Turkey? You know, the night in Sweden when they needed a result over there. There's been a lot of nights when England needed results in hostile atmospheres. And let's face it, next Tuesday will be a hostile atmosphere in the UK.
Yeah, look forward to watching it with you in Thurles.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I just do not think England will. I know, I'll be honest with you, I'd love to see England go through because I'm like you, we watch English football, we watch the Premier League, and it'd be great to see all these players get through and get a bit of confidence going into the Premier League next year because it will bring it. But the hostile atmosphere, Wayne Rooney coming back, will that upset the English team? Only time will tell, but if I had to pick right now, gun to head, I would go France and the Ukraine.
Okay, thanks a lot for your thoughts on Euro 2012. Look forward to discussing the latter stage of the competition of future sports. Well, you mentioned the Premier League, you mentioned English football. Brings us along nicely to the next big news story from the week ahead. Huge record-breaking sums of money were paid this past week from Sky, and a new player in the Premier League coverage, BT, shocked the world. A $3 billion deal. And BT now have 18 of the 38 first pick games, which is the first time that has ever happened. They could get some of the big games, the United, Man City games and the likes of that. They will predominantly get the 12:45 kickoffs on Saturday. Sky will retain Super Sunday and the Monday Night Football, but BT will be launching their own channel now that they hope to carry on the B Sky B platform and of course with the other Freeview and Virgin Media outlets in England. Not sure how it's all going to shape up for the Irish viewers yet, but that's going to be interesting to see. Will UPC and Sky Ireland take it as well? Jared, this completely bowled everybody over. ESPN were expected to be up there with Sky, but BT just blew them out of the water. Now ESPN are left in huge trouble.
Yeah, ESPN are in huge trouble because let's face it, a lot of people that have ESPN have it for two things, the UFC and the Premier League football. And now they're after losing one of that, and the UFC is coming up for a debate at the end of September. There's talks that Sky Sports are interested in the UFC. Because let's face it, they would love to get the UFC to put the big UFCs on box office. So ESPN are in big trouble if they use the UFC as well.
They are. ESPN, of course, have responded this past week by picking up the rights to the French league. But
what a response.
Certainly not going to put bums on seats. They've also tried to tout the fact that they've got golf and darts coverage, but as we well know, the darts coverage ESPN have isn't worth shite.
Yeah, they have the World Masters, but the World Masters are not great. And the worst thing...
I really feel sorry for them, Joe, because I actually thought they were, as you said before in a previous edition, it was nice to get different opinions, different views, and it remains to be seen, are BT going to give us good coverage like ESPN did give us? You've got to acknowledge that ESPN did give good coverage.
Oh, they did. There was no two ways about that. They gave good coverage. There was different opinions. Now, I didn't like John Barnes on it, but I think John Barnes is way too biased to be on any bloody panel show. I think he's too biased towards Liverpool, saying that. It was entertaining to watch. Are they still going to keep the FA Cup rights?
Yes, they have the FA Cup rights, and they have Aviva Premiership Rugby.
There's going to be...
They have Europa League.
Yeah, but
they haven't got enough.
Yeah, the Premier League is... I know.
You've got to remember, as much as we're getting it free over here, over in the UK, they're paying for that. And I just cannot see the justification in people keeping their subscriptions with ESPN, I just think they're all going to switch over to BT when their channel launches.
Yeah, but see, the thing about it is everyone is just going on about these 18 games that BT have. But they also have more there. They have the second, third, and fourth picks as well. They have a few of them as well. So they could end up...
They have midweek games and bank holiday games, and there actually is talk of, they could take all the games over the Christmas and Easter breaks that Sky used to build their schedules around. So it's going to be interesting. But just to let people know, ESPN still have one more season of Premier League football. This doesn't kick in until the following season, just in case people are wondering. Just don't want people switching off their ESPN subscriptions.
Yeah, they have one more year.
Year of it to come.
But what will the response be there? That's the big question in 4 years' time. If ESPN do stick around, there's going to be a hell of a response by ESPN because we know the money they have behind them. Will they go all out to beat the BT and Sky? Because let's face it, ESPN and Sky had a good little relationship, and in my opinion here, Sky are after stabbing them in the back.
Well, the thing about it is, it's a blind tender process, Jay. You put your bid into an envelope, it's not seen, so you don't actually know what you're up against. And I honestly believe ESPN looked at the economic climate and they were not expecting Sky and BT to go the other way. But interestingly enough, the Sky and the BT shares fell the day after on the back of this announcement because shareholders believe that they paid hugely inflated prices for this.
Yeah,
I mean, the Premier League is bucking the economic trend by actually getting more money at a time when nothing else is getting any more money.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It is incredible, Jay. I mean, in comparison, the Football League deal has been renewed by Sky, and guess how much they paid for? Only 195 million for 3 years, compared to 3 billion for the Premier League. It's absolutely staggering, the difference.
Yeah, it is staggering, and that is the big problem with BT. Will they have to do a premium channel where you have to subscribe? And
yeah, that's the talk. That is the talk. You're going to have to subscribe. Over in England, there talks it'll be a tenner a month. Don't know what it's going to do over here because we kind of have a different relationship. We've actually been able to get ESPN free, but we didn't get ESPN free at the start here, so a lot of people are saying we're not going to get BT free straight away.
Yeah, but Dave, the question I got asked outside that is that ESPN and different stuff on. They have Press Pass, they have the basketball, they have the UFC, as I said before. As you said, they have a bit of rugby, a bit of golf, a bit of darts. Well, what is BT going to bring to the table? Because I won't like to have to fork out 50, 20 euro if all I'm going to get is one game a week.
Yeah, well, I don't think I will be forking out, to be quite honest with you.
You know, it depends a lot on what else they're going to bring to the table. Because as I said, if I'm going to be paid 20 euro, which is probably going to be the price over here, I want more than just one game a week. Because the one game a week, you might only have one game interested every month that you will actually be interested in watching. And for that, you could just head down to the pub and have a bottle of Lucozade or Club Orange.
Yeah, I think that's what people are going to be doing. People are going to be doing that for BT anyway, without a doubt. We've got to move on, of course, to the UK Open. It went down last week in Bolton, and an incredible tournament that produced an unlikely winner in Robert Thornton, who destroyed Phil Taylor in the final 11-5 to win his first major in the PDC. How did you assess his weekend?
He snuck up so quietly on the outside boards, and then when he beat Gary Anderson, everyone just thought that Anderson threw the game away, but I think we found out later in the week it wasn't the case. Thornton was playing some savage starts, and everyone's going on about Taylor. I was more impressed with how he destroyed Dave Chisler, because Dave Chisler was coming out with the swagger of destroying Raymond van Barneveld, and Thornton just brushed him away, and he's not qualified yet for the match play, but I do suspect he will qualify. And he's going to be one to watch in the match play because there's not like the confidence of winning your first major. But there's someone that they've been you both have time for, and his name is Simon Whitlock. And you look at someone like Thornton who jumped a year after Simon Whitlock, and Whitlock still hasn't won a major.
Yeah.
And
he's part of the group of players that is fragile to Taylor. Like, psychologically, he already believes he's beaten when he walks out there.
Yeah, that's a big problem when the
Terry Jenkins would be another one as well, and that was proven against Taylor.
Yeah, poor Dennis Owens as well, to have a great run in again, but to get hammered by Taylor. He keeps running into Taylor in the semi-finals. It's very unfortunate for Dennis Owens.
It is. But it was good to see Owens, someone who doesn't have what Sky are looking for in a big darts player, upsetting the odds again. And Jabba Jamie Caven had a good weekend too, in fairness to him.
You know what a bad weekend nobody's talking about? Mark Walsh.
Yeah.
He got beat on some outside board. I think it was something like 9-3. You know, and this guy was supposed to be the number 1 player in the world last year, and he's getting beat on outside boards convincingly.
Colin Osborne, an absolute disgrace, in my opinion, to professional darts.
Yeah, that was the worst performance, and I'm watching darts now going on 12, 13 years, and I have to say that's one of, if not the worst performances I ever saw on TV. It was fucking horrible, and to hear Wayne Mardell trying to justify it, the only reason he was trying to justify is that he gave such bad performances himself against Taylor, and I'm sick of people like Wayne Mardell and Ron Harrington telling us how to beat Taylor when the two of them couldn't get it done them fucking selves.
Awful coverage again by Sky, in my opinion. It was the Phil Taylor show in full progress. The opening night they didn't mention him, but after that it was video package after video package.
Yeah, and one thing that really pissed me off is that when I tune in to watch the darts, I want to watch the darts. I don't want to be up in the studio with a camera on Wayne Mardell or Ron Harrington and then giving us our bullshit opinion and then coming down to a game and it's 2-0 or 1-0 and John Gwynn or Stuart Python owns it was a great first 2 legs.
Yeah.
You know, it's complete bullshit. You tune in to watch the darts. You can have the chat after the matches or when you have some free time. But don't keep calling to ad breaks and then coming back and putting Ron Harrington and Wayne Mardell into our faces while there's dark games going on the boards.
I also think, Joe, they need to look into the red button interactive that you can choose what board you want to watch. You know, I think that would be a good feature, and I'm actually surprised they haven't done it yet for the UK Open.
Yeah, I am really surprised, but I think that would cost way too much money with the interactive system, and then especially with having 8 cameras that close to the boards, you know? You know, because really when they cut the camera angles are a good bit away. But what about this stupid thing that they were cutting the boards and you had Wayne Mardell right by the board telling you what was going on and he was constantly making mistakes.
This guy is totally out of his depth, in my opinion. Just cannot grasp the fundamentals of fucking broadcasting.
Yeah, well, Dave, this is just something that me and you will probably know, but at last we found an interviewer worse than Mike Adamley.
In Wayne Mardell?
Oh, he was shocking, wasn't he?
Absolutely, Joe. No, seriously, it was cringe-worthy to watch.
It really was, and he just did not look comfortable on the mic. Simple as that. And someone like that to carry a dart program was absolutely annoying. He was all over the program, and I think he is slowly but surely becoming the number 1 pundit on Sky, and I'm not happy with that. I said this to you off air, and I'm going to say it now. Where's Bob Anderson? Where's John Lowe? Cliff Lazarenko? These guys, where are they? They're the guys that I want to hear talking about darts, because they did it on the big time stage. Not fucking Wayne Mardell.
Eric Bristow as well is not fully utilised. He comes in at the start of every show, but never there at the end.
And he's the guy that talks the most sense. Like, I remember there last year, they were all talking about Taylor was going to do this, Taylor was going to do that. And Bistro turned around and he said the final would be Gary Anderson and Adrian Lewis. And he was right. And even this year, the World Championship, they were shite all about Taylor's bullshit. And Eric Bistro turned around and he said he would not win the World Championship. And he didn't win the World Championship. So Bistro, even though he's a friend with Taylor, talks what he feels like. And 9 times out of 10, Bistro is right. But you have Wayne Mardell and Ron Harrington just telling you how much Taylor's going to win by.
Has this gotten out of hand, though? I mean, this has been an ongoing problem in Sky's coverage for a long time now, but has this not been highlighted? The over-the-top bias towards Taylor is actually hurting the game of darts.
Okay, I'm going to put in perspective for people that think that what we're talking about Taylor. Imagine if you're sitting down watching a Premier League game between just say Aston Villa and Fulham. And during the game, all the commentators are talking about are Manchester United. And at half time, all the analysis is just about Manchester United. And then there's a video package for Manchester United. And in the second half, it's on about Manchester United. And then a full time, they do a small bit on the match, and they end with talking about Manchester United. That's put in perspective for people, Dave, that all we're hearing about is Phil Taylor, Phil Taylor. We can't enjoy the games we're watching because we're told Phil Taylor is an hour away.
Yeah, it's not good enough.
It's really not good enough. Like, if players are playing, they're trying their hardest on that stage, give them some respect and talk about the game that's going on. There's plenty of time to talk about, well, probably not, because usually Phil Taylor's games are the shortest games of the fucking night.
Yeah. Definitely. But I just think there's too many people in the game that are psychologically beaten before they step out on the hockey against them, and that's just not acceptable to me.
Yeah, you have 3 darts, he has 3 darts, it's as simple as that. And you look at someone like Robert Thornton, who wouldn't be a big name, Dave, in the world of darts, and yet he was still able to pull off a win against Taylor, and a quite convincing win.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. So congratulations to Robert Thornton. He's moved up in the order of merit, but the updated order of the merit has not really changed any of the top 10 positions. So, you know, he'll have to win a few more majors before he breaks into the top 16. He's currently 23rd in the world now.
Yeah, and just an issue that I'd like to bring up is about what Barnefeld said, and if you didn't catch it, what Barnefeld is pretty much saying is that on the floor tournaments, which are the non-televised events, nowadays, fans are not left in there. If you're playing in the floor tournament, you're given 2 tickets to bring in 2 family members or 2 friends. You can't make any noise. If you win a leg of darts, even if you win a game, just say you beat Phil Taylor and you took out a 170 to win it, you can't say, come on, or scream or anything. You just got to act silent, there's no noise, and he said it's like playing in a cathedral. And then 2 days later, you're going down the Premier League in front of 10,000 people, and you're told to give it loads and get yourself over. It's very inconsistent, and it's just complete bullshit by the PDC. And Barry Hearn in particular, who's trying to turn darts into fucking snooker.
Yeah. Without a doubt, not happy with that.
He has a big hard-on for snooker, it's as simple as that.
I think Barry Hearn has to acknowledge, while he might not want to admit it, darts is more popular now than snooker. You can see that from the crowds, the revenue in the game. It's much more exciting to watch on TV. Maybe that's me being biased, but I just feel you should never try and make a sport into another sport.
Yeah, but see, the thing about snooker, is the only one that I would sit down and watch is Ronnie O'Sullivan, because it's the only one any bit exciting, Dave.
Yeah, great character, and as you say, that's what's really missing in the game of snooker. We've reached the end of this edition of Sports World. Just want to say we're going to be back on Wednesday with a preview of the Euro 2012 quarter-finals. By then we'll know the complete lineup of who are the final 8 in this tournament. We'll also be looking back at the US Open, giving our thoughts on who won that prestigious tournament. And anything else that pops up between now and then will be discussed, including any more breaking news on what BT are planning to do with their channel now that they have football rights in 2 years' time.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting by BT, because they, as you said, they could be taking some big games off Sky, and Sky pay a lot of money for different stuff, and a lot of their revenue does come from football. But if BT start getting big time games, a lot of people might say, let's start calling back on the Sky. Who knows, maybe the other way might happen. People might start calling back on the Sky and going out for the Sky games and getting BT in, because BT be a lot cheaper. Because a lot of people just have Sky for the football. Like, we have it for football, darts, a bit of rugby, a bit of golf, and a bit of the old wrestling. But there's a lot of people there that just have Sky Sports for the football.
Yeah, it's a fair point, Joe. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all turns out.
Yeah, and look at it, if it's £40 to get Sky Sports, if it's only a tenner to get BT, that's 30 quid a month people are going to be saving. So people might start saying, why don't we just get BT and go out for the games on Sky? So the opposite might happen there, and Sky could lose a lot of viewers over this.
Yeah, they could.